How can you connect deeper to your intuition? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm a spiritual transformation coach, helping you to discover your truth. I'd like to take this time to invite you to subscribe to my channel. I talk about all things spiritual so we can grow on the spiritual path together. So how can we begin to start opening up to the spiritual realm, right? We want to be on this spiritual path, and we want to have this spiritual vision and get connected to our intuition so that we have that guidance inside, right? So there are two things that I want to talk about here because they're going to be super, super important when it comes to your own spiritual path and connecting to your intuition. One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of times people will seek spirituality, right? Without doing any of the kind of inner work, almost using it as like a mask to kind of like mask over the things that they don't want to feel, right? So using spirituality as a way to kind of numb out as well. But part of being on the spiritual path is doing this inner work on ourselves. And so I like to talk about the triangle, right? We've got this mind, body, spirit thing going on. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the mind and the body because those are going to be super, super important when it comes to having spiritual vision, opening your third eye, connecting to your intuition, connecting to your higher self. We've got to go through this process of really clearing out any of the junk in the mind and the body that is blocking us from having that spiritual vision, first off. So a few things to really start looking at is going to be what you're consuming in your body, right? So you're going to be looking at what does your diet look like? Are you putting spiritual food into your body? Are you eating a lot of junk food? Are you drinking a lot of alcohol? Are you smoking? Are you putting preservatives and just junk that your body doesn't really recognize as stuff that's supposed to be going into your body, right? It's all junk that is clouding your spiritual vision. So I want you to think of God as being the sun, and you are in your home and you have this window that is blocking you from the sunlight, right? And so this window is full of like mud and like smoke and dust, and the sun is trying to shine through the window to bring light to you, but that window of like the mud and like the smoke and like the dust that's piled up is like years and years of junk that you've been putting into your body and you've been consuming, right? Which the same thing kind of goes for your mind and your emotions as well, which we'll get into in a second. So you want to start detoxing, basically, like your body. You want to start living in a spiritually like led consumption, like when it comes to your body. So that's the first question that I have for you. Like, what are you consuming that is not serving your highest path to open you up to your spiritual vision? And so for me, I spent years of my life using drugs and drinking a lot of alcohol and smoking and, unhealthy sexual relations. That's, I was doing that to my body too. And unhealthy foods. I was eating like a ton of processed junk and fast food and fried foods and meat and a lot of things that just were muddying up that window so I couldn't even see God, right? Because my window was all muddied up with just junk that I was just putting into my body, which blocks me. And so I started, once I determined I was on this spiritual path, I started doing research on like, what does a spiritual diet look like? And, what are the the things that I can do to get clear and to consume healthy things that are going to benefit my spiritual growth. And so I looked into all of that, and I quit. Of course, I quit all the drinking and the drugs and the smoking and all of that. And then I started looking at the things that I was eating, and I gave up meat, and I gave up dairy, I gave up eggs. And so I became, vegan on a plant-based diet. And then also looking at, exercising and what can I do to, help my body to be healthy spiritually. And got into yoga. I got into yoga hardcore a few years ago, and it completely changed my life. I had no idea that yoga was going to be so beneficial. And so there's a lot of different routes that you can go down when it comes to, aligning with your spiritual beliefs. You don't have to become a vegan. You don't have to do yoga. It's whatever you feel your intuition is calling you to, then look into it and just follow that. Because I'm not walking your path and you're not walking mine, which is great, because I don't have to walk your path and make the same choices that you're making. I only have to walk mine because my truth might be a little bit different than yours, because I'm here to learn different life lessons in this life. So follow that intuition. And if your intuition is saying to quit smoking or to quit eating processed food, then do it. Listen to your intuition. So that's kind of the first thing I want to talk about. Okay, and the second thing I want to talk about is mind. So we've got the mind, body, and then we've got the spirit, right? So we want to get clear with the body and the mind, so that way we can really be open to receiving that vision from our spirit, right? And so mind, looking at the things that we are reading, what our beliefs are, what kinds of people that we are surrounding ourselves with, what is the constant thing that you're hearing? What is showing up in your reality that is blocking you from God, right? And so for me, on my personal spiritual path, once I had my awakening, I realized that TV was no longer serving me, that ultimately it was not nourishing my spirit. So why was I watching TV? And it was a way for me to kind of numb out, and therefore, why would I continue to watch TV, right? So that was one thing that I gave up. Another thing that I became very aware of that I wanted nothing to do with was the news also. The news feeds in a lot of fear, in my opinion, and for me to be constantly listening to this fear-based stuff, if, hey, you don't go and do this, then you're gonna get sick or whatever. I just don't need to have those types of beliefs, because we're easily influenced by the things that are going into our minds. When something is constantly repeated and fed into us, it becomes a lot easier to hold that belief for yourself, right? And so if there's a lot of fear-based news that is coming in, then you're going to start to believe it. And that is my personal opinion. If you don't believe that, that is completely okay with me. Okay, so another thing for me is really acknowledging the people that I'm surrounding myself with. So if I'm surrounding myself with people that are negative, and the saying, misery loves company, and I go and talk to a friend and they're negative and they just want to pull me down into their own little negative world, that's a good sign for me that maybe this isn't a good relationship for me to be in. And so becoming really, really self-aware of the people that are bringing you down, right? Instead of lifting you up. When you are walking a spiritual path, it is so important that you're surrounding yourself with positive individuals, like-minded individuals that are on that same path, because they're going to understand the things that we are going through, right? And they're going to want to do the same things that you do, right? And they're going to want to build you up so that you can continue to grow, continue to level up, so that you can be closer to God, so that you can be living your truth. And so another thing I want to mention here, along with mind, which goes along with beliefs and everything, and really acknowledging the content that you're putting into your body, also acknowledging the emotions that are coming up as well, right? So that's going to be huge of getting that window cleared up so that you can connect to God is that you want to acknowledge any types of lower vibrational energies, emotions that are coming up. So if there's like a lot of anger that you have towards somebody, you really want to acknowledge that and shine some light on it and give it some love. That way you can break free from that. Any types of past beliefs, past situations, past trauma, any unforgiveness in your life, you want to really look at that also, because that is blocking you from being closer to the divine, right? So you have to think about, what is the divine? Like, what is God to you? If God is love, which God is unconditional love for me, then that means that anything in my life that is not coming from a place of unconditional love, if it's not aligning with that, then that is something that is not serving my spiritual path, right? So if I can look at the things that I'm putting in my body, like, is this food that I'm putting into my body, is this in alignment with unconditional love for myself, right? Is this book that I'm reading, is this aligned with unconditional love for myself, right? So these things that we're starting to consume, whether it's through your body or if it's through your mind, we want to make sure that they're in alignment with what we believe God is, right? Because that's going to open up our spiritual vision. So once we can be fully aligned, not fully aligned, you're never going to be perfect. Let me just make that a note. We are never perfect on the spiritual path. At least I'm not. If you are, awesome. But I'm never perfect on this path. But the closer I align myself with unconditional love, the closer that I feel with the divine, and the more magical my life becomes, the more signs that I'm seeing from the universe, the more synchronicities that I'm having, the more I feel completely guided by intuition, is because I'm in alignment with unconditional love. And so that's one of the things that I've been asking myself lately, is how can I be more in alignment with unconditional love, right? And for me, that looks like forgiving other people, right? Being grateful, drinking green juice. As silly as that might sound, that is me showing myself that I'm being unconditionally loving towards myself. Doing yoga. Yoga's beautiful. I love it. Meditating, right? Helping others, being of service to others. Those are just some ways that God shows me how to be in alignment with love. So I want to invite you to ask yourself these questions. What does God want you to consume in your body? What does God want you to consume with your mind? What types of people does God want you to be surrounded by? What types of materials does he want you to read? How does he want you to act in everyday life? Ask yourself these questions and let intuition guide you into those answers. And I guarantee you're going to start seeing some magical things happening. Because that's how the universe works. When you ask the right questions and you come up with the answers and then you know where to go next, like, the universe just brings in more answers, and it'll bring in the signs, and it'll show you exactly where you need to go to walk this spiritual path. It's such a beautiful path, and I'm so happy that you all are on it and we're walking this together. Please reach out to me if you feel led to. All my social stuff in the description box, and if you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you in the next video.